YouTubies. This is Psychic Bob. Woo, here we are. Well, today is Wednesday, and that means it's Wiccan Wednesday. I am so thankful to be here with all of you. Well, I want to say thank you. So many of you have been coming out to my recent videos. Yesterday we had messages from the spirit world. And for those of you who are new to my channel, every Tuesday we put that out. And that's where I answer psychic questions and do little mini psychic readings for viewers. So if you want to get in on that, definitely check that video out. It's in the queue right before this video. It was yesterday, so check it out. And you can see that, and it explains how to get involved with messages from the spirit world. Well, here we are, Wiccan Wednesday. You know, every Wiccan Wednesday, I like to stop and talk about something from the ancient ways of the Wicca. And today is interesting because I've been getting letters from people. People have said to me, Psychic Bob, I feel like I'm drawn to the craft, but I don't know if I can handle it. I don't know if I can take it on. Some people have written to me, they said, Bob, I was in a Christian church for 20 years, and I'm just burned out on religion. I don't want to be part of any groups. But, you know, I feel empty. I've left the church. I'm drawn to Wiccan spirituality, but I feel overwhelmed and I feel empty. And I just don't know if I can even have the energy or the strength to join the craft. Well, you know, I have to tell you, there has been over so many years for so many people, a lot of abuse from the religious world. A lot of people have been involved with churches where they've been told, you know, you have to work to be good enough for the kingdom of God. And they may have spent, you know, every week going to church 3 or 4 times a week and doing missionary work and all of that. And they've burned themselves out. And on top of that, so many have been hurt by their church's teachings. They find that if they can't 110% believe their doctrines, that their salvation is questioned. They're threatened with hell, excommunication, and shunning. All of these extremes are that. They're extremes of religion. Some people have written to me, they said, Bob, you know, I fell in love with a girl. She wasn't a member of my church. And my church family said that if I get involved with her, that I'm being kicked out of the church. I've heard these stories as well. People are being put up against a wall many times by their spiritual practices. And this is very sad. And a lot of these people are turning to Wicca and they're saying, Bob, I want to be spiritual. I'm drawn to Wiccan spirituality, but I don't know if I can handle it. I don't know if I can be part of a coven. I'm so burned out. Well, the wonderful thing is Wicca allows us to be solitary. So you can enter Wiccan spirituality without having to get involved in politics or groups, and you can study it on your own. And this is a wonderful way to start. Some of you may be drawn to covens and feel like that's what you want to do, and that's fine as well. See, the craft allows you to go at your own pace. You know, in my book, Psychic Bob's Book of Wiccan Wisdom, I have a chapter in here that I thought maybe we could touch in on today. It's called Retreat and Return. And here's my little picture with it. It's a witch brewing up a potion under the moon. Isn't that fun? But, you know, for all of you who are trying to find that balance, trying to understand, can I be a real person and a spiritual person? This might help you. So let me just, let me read from my book. This is taken from Psychic Bob's Book of Wiccan Wisdom, and it's written by me. All right. Retreat and return. Some people make the mistake in assuming that to be on a spiritual path, you must renounce everything. Become an ascetic living in a cave, no longer enjoy anything like alcohol, good food, or even sex. I I said the word sex. The truth is that if you embrace the Wiccan path, you don't flee from the material world. You celebrate it. You celebrate all life, the diversity of people, places, cultures, and things. A true follower of the ancient path is not afraid of life and engages in living more fully rather than becoming an isolated monk or nun. Certainly there are times when Wiccans will withdraw from the outer world and seek seclusion. The mythic Isle of Avalon in Marion Zimmer Bradley's The Mists of Avalon was a place where the Druids would retreat from the outer world and seek sanctuary and work on their magical studies. Modern practitioners will do this also, but like the Druids of Zimmerman Bradley's book, they will return to the social side of life. Wiccans do not embrace a patriarchal, hierarchical view of this world. They do not believe that the earth and its creatures must be dominated. Wiccans understand that we are one part of the larger chain of life, and that to honor life, we must participate in life. As mentioned previously, this means embracing all that life has to offer. Some accuse Wiccans of being sensualists, a charge to which I respond, perhaps. But then, were we not made with these senses and capacity to explore with them? A good witch knows that the secret to a productive, happy life is found in balance. Extremes of asceticism or overindulgence place one outside of the center of the circle. A good witch watches their own cycle to maintain the balance. So that's a reading from my book, Psychic Bob's Book of Wiccan Wisdom. And, you know, I think this is a very timely reading now because, as I said, I've been getting so many letters from so many people saying, Bob, how do I find spiritual peace? As many of you have written, said, I've gone the church path, tried to go to church, couldn't do it, couldn't agree with them, got in arguments with the pastor, got in arguments with the elders, got kicked out. Well, don't fear. You see, this is a case of extremism. If you're in a religious body, whether it's a church or even a Wiccan circle, and everybody's putting on you how you have to be and the rules you have to follow, and it must be this way and no way but the highway, it's not balanced. You see, like our book talks about, we have to find the center of the circle. And if you are living your life to other people's rules all the time, then you're not having balance in your life, you see? And this lack of balance will lead to sorrow. Spiritual life is meant to enhance our life, not dominate it and control it. So this is why, you know, sometimes people come to me for a reading and they've come through a traumatic experience with a church. And they say, Bob, I don't know if I should go back to that church, but I know that the Spirit is calling me to do something, and so I better just go back. To which I say to them, the Spirit is calling you perhaps, yes, but it's not calling you to that church. It's calling you to itself. If we listen to our heart, inside of us is all wisdom and knowledge because the divine dwells in each person. Now, I know that statement won't make me popular with some preachers on YouTube. I already get denounced enough as a heretic. But the fact is, we are all truly divine within. We carry the very spark and essence of the creators of divinity, of Father, Mother, God, the Lord and the Lady. And if you want to commune with them, start first with your own self. Look in your heart. Shirley MacLaine one time said, the greatest journey is within. And I think she's absolutely right. Because when we go in, we find out where true joy lies. You see, don't let other people take away your joy. Some people have said to me, Bob, I wish I could believe, but I've been so traumatized by churches that I've given up. I've decided that atheism's the better path. I can understand that. But before you denounce all truth and light, I ask you to look within yourself. Forget churches, forget covens, forget temples. Go within. Once you find the Spirit is within you, you don't have to worry about what other people say or the outer world and its views of if you're right or wrong, because you will know for yourself what truth is. This is where the greatest joy lies. You know, when I started the Wiccan path, I think this is probably the thing that just shocked me the most, was the fact that I didn't have to rely on somebody else to bring the truth to me. That the truth was available for me just where I was. So before you get yourself in a stressed out state, worrying about whether to go to church, go back to this group or that group, find the Lord and Lady within. Find the Spirit within. Then you'll have peace. All things in moderation. All things with mirth and reverence. That's the key to spiritual life. That's the key to happiness. That's your key to healing. If you want healing in your life, if you want spiritual power in your life, give up other people's expectations. So many people have been programmed to believe that God wants this and God wants that. And they feel that when they do something in their own mind, that somehow they've betrayed God or they've lessened their connection. That's all an illusion that was put on you. It was a record implanted in you by somebody else's vision, probably not your own. So feel free to break free of the shackles. I had somebody come to me for a reading once, a young lady, and she said, Bob, I grew up as a very devout Baptist. And she said, I ended up meeting a guy that was a Wiccan. And she said, I fell in love with him. We had a passionate affair. And she said, I feel that I've sinned because I was sexual. And I said to her, well, let me talk about your sexuality. Do you just go out sleeping around every day? Do you just go to bars and pick up random people and have promiscuity in your life? She says, oh, no. She said, I truly loved him. I said, well, how long were you together? She said, we were together for 3 years. We even lived together. I said, 3 years you lived together. I said, and you think you're going to hell now that you've sinned? She said, oh, yes. I said, well, let me tell you about relationships and love. I said, in my world, in my belief, in the Wiccan tradition, we have a tradition that means harm none. So I said, well, let me ask you, did you just use him for sex and throw him aside? She said, no. I said, did he do that to you? She said, no. I said, did you love each other? She said, yes. And I said, well, what you have is two people entering into a stable, committed, loving relationship. That's an act of love. That's not an act of sin. She said, really? I said, yeah. She said, well, he always told me, because he was Wiccan, he used to tell me that the goddess loved me. And she said, is that true? And I said, absolutely. She said, well, what about God? I think God hates me. I said, no, God doesn't hate you. I said, why do you think God hates you? And she said, because I sinned. I said, what did you sin? She said, I was sexual. I said, no, sexuality is not the sin. Abuse of sexuality is a sin. If you just use somebody, that's a sin. But I said, what you've engaged in is a committed, stable, loving relationship, and there is power there. I said, didn't it feel right to your heart? She said, oh, yes, it did. I said, but your head told you otherwise. She said, yes. I said, this was a program put into you. I said, I want you to listen carefully. I want you to play back what he said to you. And she said, well, he told me that he loved me, that the Lord and the lady loved me. And she said, I couldn't accept the fact that I was loved by divinity. I said, well, I can tell you, you have not sinned, that you've entered into a stable, committed, loving relationship. And sexuality is part of that relationship as being part of humanity. I said, so you have balance in your life now. And she said, so is there a goddess who loves me too? I said, absolutely. And she said, even God? I said, yes. I said, but you might want to expand your concept of God. She said, well, I believe in Jesus. I said, well, that's okay. I said, you believe in the Father? Oh, yes. And you believe in the Spirit? Yes. I said, what if this form of God could take other forms? And I talked to her about all the different male deities. She said, oh, my partner used to talk to me about Pan, and he used to talk to me about Cernunnos and all of this. And I said, well, did you ever hear him talk about these gods in a judgmental, hostile way? She said, no. It sounded so loving, and I could never understand, she said, how he had such a love of God. I said, his love of God came from having a true vision of God, not somebody else's vision. He found God, and he related to the divine, the masculine, the Father, the Lord, as a loving Father, not a judgmental Father. And she said, wow, this is really amazing. She said, can I have this in my life? And I said, absolutely. She said, well, what do I have to do? I said, you don't have to do anything. Just open yourself to receive that light. And I taught her some meditations. And anyways, it's a long story, but what happened is she ended up finding the craft, and her life healed, and she's very happy in her life today. So you see, your understanding of spirituality can make a difference. And so I invite you, set aside other people's expectations. Set aside all that fear of judgment, and dare to believe that, one, you are already wonderful. Two, that you are already loved. And three, the divine is already within you. If you begin from that place, you'll start healing. You'll find balance. And when you re-enter the world, you'll do it with joy in your heart, optimism, and find peace. And other people will see that peace from you. You know that lady I just told you about? I asked her, I said, what drew you to your partner? I said, you a devout Christian Baptist, and you joined in with a Wiccan. I said, this is very interesting to me. She said, well, Bob, what drew me to him was that he had real joy and peace. And she said, I never saw that in the guys in my church that I go out with. She said, I always felt like I was judged and I had to be perfect. I said, yes. I said, not saying all Christians, but I said, bad theology, whatever branch it comes from, can really mess you up. I said, so you found peace and joy with him? She said, yes. I said, is that not the true spirit of God? Does not your own Bible say that God is a God of peace? She said, you're right. I said, consider that God can be in other people and other religions and other ways. I'm dropping my book here. And she said, I see what you're saying. And so she started down her path of peace. These days she's a Wiccan, has a lot of joy in her life. So I bring this to you today because so many of you have fear about pleasing God, or fear of hurting others, or fear of other people's expectations. Let it all go. Come back to center. Find your balance. And you'll have joy again. Anyways, if you like this, you might want to think about popping over to my website at robert-hickman.com. The link is in the info box below. And go to my website, and up at the top it says books. Pick up a copy of Psychic Bob's book of Wiccan Wisdom. I think you'll enjoy it. Well, guys, listen. Tell me in the box below. Did you come to the craft? Has the craft brought healing to your life? Maybe you're a different spiritual path, and that brought healing. I want to hear about your spiritual journeys. I want you to tell me if you feel like it. No pressure. But if it is, you feel like it, in the box below, tell me about your awakening, when you found peace at some time in your life, and how that's helped you. Well, listen, I love you guys. Thank you for being here for Wiccan Wednesday. Keep it here. We got more coming. Tomorrow is Zodiac Thursday. We'll have something fun for you. And anyways, hope you'll like this, favorite, save it to your favorites, share it with your friends. And if you can, show Psychic Bob some love and hit subscribe. Be part of our channel. We'd love you to be here. Well, guys, thanks for being here. I love you. Happy Wiccan Wednesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow for Zodiac Thursday. Blessed be.